Hey, this video is just to flush out what I've been running into in politics. Of course, you know the headlines that I've been coming across while surfing the internet or YouTube, whatever. Most recent one, Tuesday, I made another video against making the case against censoring people, canceling, whatever you want to call it. Well, just recently, turns out, what's her name? Whoopi Goldberg got suspended or whatever from The View for saying some shit. What she say about the Nazis? Back in the 1940s when they murdered all kinds, enormous amount of Jewish people. But yeah, so she didn't deny that it happened. Of course, there's, what do you call those people, Holocaust deniers or something like that. She didn't do that. She just said that it wasn't racism. But what happened, it didn't happen because of racism. They didn't murder all those Jewish people based on racism. And I gotta be honest, I sort of agree with that statement. I mean, because when I think of racism, I think of, being hated or hating someone because of their color of their skin. If you're a white person and you don't like brown people or black people, that's racism. If you're black and you don't like white people, that's racism for me too. So that's I didn't really knock on her for that. I mean, I don't think I just felt that same way about that statement. It's like, it wasn't racism. It was still wrong that they did it, I was thinking, well, what would you call it? And the whole time in my mind, it was just based on, they did it because of, not racism, because, Jewish people, they were in Germany, they were white. Not to say that Nazis weren't racist. Of course they were racist. I'm sure if there was millions of black people in Nazi Germany, they probably would have suffered the same fate as Jewish people did if they were in the 1940s in Germany. I don't think there were a lot of black people in Germany back in that time, those World War II days, years. But I mean, there was definitely hatred of the Jewish community, But I mean, I sort of got this whole time, I never thought about it as racism either. I thought about it as religious bigotry, maybe, not xenophobia, because I mean, weren't most of those Jewish victims, weren't they German as well? And I think that's what xenophobia is, when you just don't like people from other country or you hate people from other country. So I wouldn't call it xenophobia either. I would call it, what do you call it, a heretic or something like that? People, bigotry based on religion. That's really what this whole time, that's what I thought it was, religious bigotry or heretism, whatever you call it. That's I never thought about it as in a race issue. But anyway, so she got suspended, or I don't know, The View, whoever, the people that run that show behind the scenes, they polished that turd. I don't know, they made her sound nice of just giving her some time off, they call it, or something like that. It was a suspension. And they were calling her insensitive and all that. And, I just don't agree with censorship like that. Even if she really meant it, like as in a malice way, the way she said it, I'm off the mind that you shouldn't be censoring people. I mean, if you think of free speech, to me that's what it comes down to: free speech. And if you think about it, I mean, free speech wasn't meant to protect popular speech. It wasn't really meant to protect unpopular speech, especially if it comes down to the government trying to prosecute you for saying unpopular things, or let's say talk bad about that whatever government's in charge of that time. I mean, nobody's gonna come after you for saying I love the USA or for carrying a big American flag. Nobody's gonna prosecute you for that or come after you, or the community's gonna turn on you or something. It's really to protect unpopular speech, even the most hateful people. But going back to Whoopi Goldberg, I don't think she meant to. I don't think she was being insensitive. I think she did a bad job at explaining what it was, But in my mind, it doesn't sound like it's racist, and it doesn't mean that I condone what the Nazis did either, or stuff like that. It's just, if I think about racism as being hated or hating somebody because they're not the same skin that you are, same skin color or pigmentation or whatever you want to call it. That's what racism is for me. You hate somebody because of the color of their skin, and it's just that narrow, and or you just don't like somebody. You make crimes against somebody because of the color of their skin. That's racism. What happened in Nazi Germany, what they did to all the Jewish people, I didn't view it. I have never viewed it as racism. Doesn't mean I didn't sympathize with the Jewish people and how painful it was what happened to them, and all that mass murdering and the gas chambers and all that shit. Again, doesn't mean Nazis weren't racist. I think they would have done it to black people, brown people, but Jewish people, they were the ones that were there, unfortunately for them, and that's what happened to them. And again, I just didn't see it as racism. I saw it more as in religious bigotry or heritism. I can't even say that word, but because I haven't used it in so long, I'm surprised I even remember it, honestly. But yeah, that's just how I felt with Whoopi. I was like, it's dumb. She's dumb, but I don't think she should have been suspended. But whatever, she's gonna be fine. I'm sure she's a multi-millionaire, and they could fire her today, and she'll die a rich person. She'll die a wealthy person. So, I'm not shedding tears for her. It's just another freaking dent, for another point for censorship, and it's annoying to me, and not very consequential in this story, isn't necessarily, but there's other examples that are very consequential. But yeah, that's it. Another one. This one, I've been wanting to talk about this one, about indoctrination from the right. Republicans, the right wingers, the conservatives, whatever you want to call those people, whatever they call themselves. I sort of got, since I started following politics like in 06, something like that, 07, Then Obama became president, and I was following it a lot. That was back in the days when I was fucking watching CNN all the time, and I'm glad I'm not doing that anymore. I shared that before as to why, so I'm not gonna retell that story, but I do remember the right wing, and they still do it till this day, accusing the left of trying to indoctrinate the children, Democrats necessarily, and boy, they went hard. Obama's very first year in office, I want to say 4 months in or something, it was something to do with some school or something, and the kids, they were supposed to like fill out like a form, like not a form, but like a worksheet, like a class thing, something about how to help the president or something like that, and yeah, the right wing cried wolf about that, and I think at the end, some of the questions in that sheet, they were like meritorious as a complaint, about indoctrination. Anyways, I think Obama or whatever happened, I think they updated the sheet, or they just didn't do the sheet in the end, and that was the first time I heard the right wing complain about indoctrination of children. And now throughout the years, they just keep throwing that line, and it's like, where's the indoctrination? I mean, when you pay attention to who's in charge around the whole country, not just in Washington, just look at Washington too. In the last, since the 80s, which government been in charge the most? Republican governments. They've been running the government longer. We started with Ronald Reagan, and then George Bush, and then Clinton had it for 8 years, and then Bush again for 8 years, and then Obama for 8, and then Trump for 4. But then you look at the Senate and the House of the Representatives, they've been running it longer, a lot longer than Democrats over there. You look at the state governments, it's majority Republican governments. Governorships, and state houses and senates, it's majority Republicans that run it. And keep in mind, they don't even, more Democrats vote than Republicans, but you look at the gerrymandering and all that, Republicans come out on top because they're good at gerrymandering. But that's another topic. Going back to this whole indoctrination shit, it's not Republicans doing the indoctrination. If you want to keep score on it, just 3 examples that I saw recently. PragerU. If you follow politics and if you're in right-wing circles, you know about PragerU. They're a propaganda machine, and boy, they pump material out, and they're good at lying by omission or just telling half stories to make left-wing movements look bad, or just badmouth them, and just lie about the left-wing movements and historical context and stuff like that. They're a big propaganda machine, and they're funded by corporations and all that. There's finally an actual left wing. It's the Gravel Institute. They're trying to do the counter messaging against PragerU, because man, they get a lot of views and they just lie a lot, and they have the freaking right wingers, darlings of the right. Candace Owens has been on that thing. Tucker Carlson's been on that thing, and I want to say Ben Shapiro's been on it too. Like, they do segments for PragerU, and that's how they get their clout. So the Gravel Institute is doing something, and the Gravel Institute is actually it's a left wing version of PragerU, but they don't lie. It's plain and simple. If you know your history about slavery and just geopolitical governments, and you will notice how PragerU lies. Anyways, that's their propaganda for adults. That's fair game, I guess you can say. I think they have done a segment on PragerU about indoctrinating children. The left indoctrination of children. But then you look, how I have a 5-year-old and he watches a lot of YouTube freaking videos. You know how children are. They're watching YouTube a lot. Then across comms, one of the commercial breaks on YouTube, freaking PragerU Kids. And yeah, it's kind of like PragerU for big people, but it was just telling half stories, lies. Well, one was about, I think, Black Lives Matter or something like that, and they even you just gotta watch it. But that's one example. Then you got this right-wing dude from the Daily Wire, I think, or the Daily Caller. I can't tell. I think they're different on the opposite ends of the spectrum. I don't know. I can't remember which one is the right one, which one is the left one, really, honestly. I think the Daily Caller is from the right. But anyways, Matt Walsh, dude's freaking made a children's book against transphobia. I mean, for transphobia, against transgender people, and he's there reading it to children. To me, that's what indoctrination looks like. And then Ben Shapiro, I saw this is the most recent one. Ben Shapiro is doing a similar thing, reading right-wing books for children. I think there's a YouTube channel or something called come on, Conserva Kids or something like that. Ben Shapiro was in that, and telling the kids the government's bad, they're just there to take your money and stuff like that. And we're talking children probably 7, 8 years old. But to me, that's what indoctrination looks like. And that's just another example of Republicans always projecting what they do onto the Democrats. Classic Trump right now about the election being rigged, and saying that it was stolen. He's just projecting. He was trying to steal it for himself. This January 6th, what do you call it, committee or something? I thought it was a complete waste of time when they first started it, honestly. I thought it was I still think it's just mostly show. I don't think they're gonna do a damn thing about it. But man, we are learning some new things of not just January 6th, but leading up to it, and what Trump was up to the whole election cycle. And he was actually trying to steal the election, talking about trying to pressure the Vice President Mike Pence into overturning the results, and talking about taking the voting machines from the states where Biden was winning, and just straight up authoritarian shit. And went to court 60 times, lost 59, and won one case on some procedural stuff. And to me, that's him trying to steal the election, but they're accusing the Democrats of stealing it. Just projection in my view. And it's just too many examples of that, and it's always projection. It's always that. They say Democrats win by fraudulent votes, even though they can never prove it, but they're always trying to rig the votes. And I think there's been more cases of, what do you call those people that vote twice? It's illegal to vote twice. Everybody knows that. I hope everybody does. But they're always accusing the Democrats of doing that. But I've seen more cases of the Republicans doing the double voting than Democrats. And it's just example after example. But those are my two top ones that I saw. The whole Whoopi Goldberg thing and this whole indoctrination of children. I swear to God, when I saw that freaking Prager U Kids logo playing as a commercial for my son while he was trying to watch some silly ass dudes, what do they call themselves? Some Asian kid and a white kid. They're like best friends, and oh, I wish I remember them, but they're doing some silly shit on their YouTube channel, and my son enjoys it. I think that's what he was watching, and then that PragerU commercial pops up, and I'm like, what the fuck? I couldn't click skip commercial fast enough. I was honestly mad, and like, what the fuck, man? Like, don't freaking poison my son's fucking brain when he's only 5 years old, you know? And yeah, that's indoctrination in my opinion, and I agree. This is the thing about right wingers. Another example, cancel culture. They're complaining about cancel culture, but they don't really want to fight for people's right. Especially if you're a left winger, they don't give a shit if you get canceled. They just get mad that they get canceled, and they get mad they're not the ones doing the canceling, and that's just so disingenuous to me. But that's just how the right wing rolls. And if you're of that right, I know I have a lot of right wing friends, but that's just the way it is, man. There's no way around it. It's becoming more and more of a cult, honestly. But yeah, that whole thing with the thing and the indoctrination. If you mean it, I agree. Keep children away from the politics thing. You know, when they get older, yeah, I would encourage them to get involved, because I think it's important to be involved in politics, but not at that age, because yeah, you could screw a kid's mentality that way. And I mean, obviously, the way you raise your own child, if you're a conservative, he will see your conservative tendencies, and I'm a left winger, so my son's gonna probably, whatever I practice and preach at the same time, it's gonna rub off on my son. So chances are my son is gonna be okay with taxing the rich. My son's gonna think, yeah, he's probably gonna think someday when he's older, he's gonna have an ideology shaping him already. But I will also encourage him, go ahead and listen to the right, son, you know, and don't be afraid to be wrong. I've been wrong so many times before, and yeah, I think nobody likes to be wrong, but we have to acknowledge we're not always right. And so, but yeah, that's just the way I think about it. Prager, you kids, stay the fuck away from my son. Don't try to indoctrinate him. And same goes for Ben Shapiro. Don't you show up at my fucking son's classroom. And if he is, I will go and get my son out of school. He's gonna miss school that day, and so is my daughter. Although my daughter, she's a teenager now, you know. I think she can start maybe dipping her toe in the world of politics, and you know, eventually form her own ideology, you know, her own set of values. But yeah, I think my children are more than likely gonna start as left wingers, and then as time goes, maybe they'll change their mind, or maybe they'll become even more lefties, more to the left, you know. So, but I wouldn't go and try to talk to your son about Medicare for all, or about Black Lives Matter, or CRT. Oh, so scary. CRT is so scary. Anyways, you get the point. Ciao.